The one thing we hear a lot is I want leadership. I want to learn about leadership. I want to go to that next level. And we know that a lot of that doesn't necessarily live in books. You can read about it, you can read the articles, you can read the books, you can go to different events and activities, but sometimes I think the best example of leadership is one that you can relate to. It has to resonate, right? You have to be able to see it. You have to be able to feel like, I can do that. That makes sense. That's my story, or that's something close to my story. And so that's how we developed the Women in Leadership event. This is our second year. Last year we had a wonderful panel, and this year we thought, I think we can do it bigger, we can do it better. So we reached out to leaders in the area who we thought exemplified your story of resilience, of desire to grow and develop. So that's why they're here, and hopefully that's why you're here. One thing we didn't touch on just yet, but I know all of you have had to deal with to a degree, is that really wonderful big word, and that's the balance word, right? When we talk about womanhood, leadership, work, life, family, that balance word comes up. So maybe if we can start off with that. When it comes to balance, is there such a thing?
I do believe that that having balance is a myth. And if you look at people that are truly successful, and I am working now in an environment where I am working with extremely successful, hard-driving people who, they literally are working 7 days a week. So I think that one of the other lessons in terms of leadership and sort of trying to have it all, I think we have to make sacrifices when you're going to have success.
You only have so many hours in the day, right? There's only I fill up every single hour I have. For me, the balance is important, having a very supportive husband. Because my husband sacrificed his career so that I could have my career. To get balance, you have to love what you do. And some days I don't always love what I do. But trying to be present with whatever it is that I'm doing. So if I'm at a Peirce board meeting, being present for Jim and the board members and the staff at Peirce, and not looking at my BlackBerry every 10 seconds to see who's emailed me at work. When I'm at work, trying to be present, and when I'm at home, trying to be present. That's what's been really helpful to me.
I don't think that I've been good at sort of figuring out all the balance things, but I have started to really understand how important it is to be present with my family and to really try to preserve my weekends for the time that I'm really going to spend with family.
People always assume that I have so much time on my hands because I'm not married or don't have children. And there are a lot of demands on my time. So I think when it comes to balance, it's about how do you define balance for yourself. But what helps me along the way is that, my mother would tell me, if you find a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life. So sometimes when I'm at work, I don't feel like I'm at work. So that helps to create balance in my life. Make it work. Balance is what you make of it, and it's how you define it.
In those moments where you're feeling down, you've got to look yourself. What you do is you've got to reaffirm that what you're doing, you can do, you want to do it, you're capable of doing it. And the fact that you have been admitted to Peirce means that you are capable of doing it. So I just think you've got to have an ongoing dialogue, an ongoing conversation with yourself.
I think it's all about trying to set the right example for your kids, which I'm sure that's what you're doing. And they're not all grown yet, I'm assuming. Still.
My youngest is 17. You're
17.
Oh,
that's
wonderful.
great.
Wonderful.
That's awesome.
Wonderful.
It's great. Having been on the board of Peirce now for 11 years, it's hard to believe. I was 12. You all know how old I am now. Having seen folks walk across that stage every year at commencement, it's remarkable. In the years that we have grandmothers and daughters and granddaughters, and it's just amazing to see it. So I just say keep going and think about the great example you're setting for your children.
There are definitely going to be times when you're going to be down and you're going to be stressed and you're just going to see. I think it's important for other people to know that you can work your way through that it's okay.
There is no one formula or prescription for success. So we all have to write our own stories. And your story is your story, so own the story. And the story is that you're a mother of 6, you're in college, and you're doing it. So stay encouraged by that story. Look back on all your the things that you've accomplished, and just continue to talk to yourself and say, I can do this. It's going to happen.
I have made it my business not to be emotional all the time. I was able to use enough emotion, or I actually have a background in theater. Both of my parents are artists, so I used emotion artfully. So, but it was always calculated. There was never a time when I was not in control of it. And so, I think, part of what you have to do in the workplace, particularly for people that are going to be in a negotiating posture, I think, and even in 2012, I think women still have to be extremely careful about getting too emotional, because I think you'll be punished for it. I think we made a lot of gains, and but I do think that it's still challenging for women in leadership, and I think you have to be extremely careful. The only problem with all of this is you have to be authentic. You are never going to be a good leader. You're never going to be successful if you are in an environment where you are constantly suppressing yourself. So I think you've got to have a balance. You've really got to be authentic, but you have to be careful with the emotion.
In some of those talent review discussions, you definitely hear discussions about women versus men. And the difference was, if a woman was very assertive, she was pushy, she was difficult. And so generally the discussion was about the negative emotion. But I am very emotional, but I'm a crier. And we'll be sitting in a meeting talking something, and I can feel my eyes starting to well up. And it's terrible, but I can't, I can't control it. So I'm emotional the other way. And I had a boss tell me that, and I knew this wasn't going to be a good fit for me in this company long term, because she told me that she thought that I was too caring and too sensitive to be successful. And, I thought that's not my authentic self. And so if this isn't the kind of culture you want, that's great. I think the important lesson for me is just to be sensitive to everybody's style. Everybody has a different style, and you have to adjust yours as best possible.
I try to make sure that, my tone is one that, is conversational and sort of says, I do want to engage you. I do want to have a conversation with you. But I also will be quite strong if there are points that I think we're going to need to sort of hear me a little bit differently. So I just am who I am.
Learn how to play poker, and that's to get a poker face. And so that people don't know what you're thinking or what's going on. And I know I'm bad with my poker face, because sometimes, and I've learned how to have people in the room that say, Melanie, get your face right. And it took me a long time to learn, and that's emotional intelligence. So when you go home, Google it, find books about emotional intelligence, but it's really about identifying, assessing, and controlling the emotions of people in the room. And it's a skill that you need to have. And I guess the third thing is, some things you just got to leave at home. It's okay to be emotional sometimes. Sometimes I want to cry too, but they will never see me cry at work. My tears will be shed on my pillow at home. So there are just some things that you just need to learn how to take control of and do it at home, go in the bathroom, whatever you feel like you have to do to keep it together, and just take it home with you. Every marriage, and when I say marriage, it's between you and an employer. Every marriage is not a match made in heaven. So sometimes you got to know when to hold them, you got to know when to fold them. And sometimes you'll be in situations where it just might not be a perfect fit for you. And you just have to move on to the next situation. But as far as what do you do with the energy that you have, a lot of us have talked about nonprofit organizations and giving back to the community. And find a place that loves and respects the work that you do.
You talk to a mentor or a counselor, someone that you really trust. Give them the actual situation, be honest about the situation, and then figure out whether or not communication might have, a little bit more communication and buy-in might have helped the situation.
You raised a really important point around feedback and getting feedback. So there may be, yes, as you were telling the story, I was thinking, gee, sounds like a manager who might have been threatened by your strong personality and your great ideas and so on. And so maybe just not a good fit. And I think that we've probably all been in a situation like that at some point or another in our careers. And we may have been that manager too. So we all learn. But I think seeking feedback is really important.
Sometimes you are in an environment that is toxic and it's just not good for you. And so the issue is, once again, getting yourself out of it, extracting yourself, not burning a bridge, because the world is very small and Philadelphia is even smaller.
I think I'm inspired by many things. One, I'm inspired by my parents. My dad, both my parents are first generation college graduates.
There's always somebody along the way who gave me a handout, who I remember there was a woman who was in charge of our usher board at church. She was like always there for us. I could talk to her. There was a teacher in a program that I could ultimately connect to and talk to. So there were always people along the way. Today, I'm inspired by my grandson, Joshua. Joshua is 6 months old, and he's absolutely fabulous. And grandparenthood is not overstated. It's the most fabulous thing in the world. And so when I get up today, I am still, when I think of all the really tough problems, and I look at how unfair the world is and how opportunities get closed down for people and people don't get all the chances that they should get. I think about the future, and I think about the world that Joshua is going to go into, which is going to be so different than anything else we've done. But I know I've been a small part of making that a better place.
What inspires me first is my faith and my belief that there's something more than what we experience here on earth, but that everything we do while we're here is going to matter later in life. So no matter, who your God is or what you think about in terms of the spirit that surrounds you, whether it's Mother Earth or something else, for me, that's really what inspires me first and foremost. And then from there, it's seeing successes in the little things in life. To be able to see that something that I'm doing is helping others achieve their dreams.
I come from a family of trailblazers. I come from a family of very strong women, and also men who don't have a problem with that. I'm also inspired by the tremendous mentors who I have met in my life and who have set an example for me, and who have been extremely supportive. I've just been extremely blessed with many opportunities, but really many wonderful mentors who were always, I felt, sort of had their hands on my shoulders. Today, I'm inspired by my daughter, who's 25, and I always say Allison has a nonprofit heart and for-profit taste.
She's fabulous. She worked for me.
She worked one summer. Yes, she actually worked for one summer.
That's great.
But I'm very proud of her. When she graduated college, she spent 2 years in City Year doing public service with AmeriCorps, and now she is in a graduate school program at Drexel University. But I feel like when I look at her, she's really my best work. The one hallmark of my career is education. And I admire each and every one of you all for taking this step. You are going to get a credential from Peirce College that nobody will ever be able to take away from you. And so I applaud you. Get your associates, get your BA, get your master's. You are doing what you need to do. You are you're grabbing success by the throat right now. And I just, I will say that, the degrees I have carried me through this wonderful career that I've had.
Learning never stops. So, and many of you are great examples of that. There aren't many probably in the room who are 18 or 19 that you continue to learn. Okay, there's one. 2. All right, good. Excellent. We're glad you're here. But that being said, I just think you have to continue to learn and be open to change and feedback, because we can all be better.
Learning is a lifelong pursuit, and it's in the classroom and it's also in life. So take those lessons that you learn, then gain some experience getting out there, trying those ideas, see what works for you, see what doesn't work for you, and then come back and reach back and touch someone else and bring them along too.
Seek out opportunities for professional development to make yourself a better professional, to expand your job where you are. Sometimes it's not about going up the career ladder, but it's about expanding yourself outwards. And 2 other things I just want to leave with you all is when I think about leadership, leaders are readers. And so I encourage you all to read. Read as much as you can and read about anything and everything.
There is no age to mentorship, right? Either way, whether you're mentoring down or up or around. So certainly reach out to someone you respect, someone you care about, someone who can give you feedback both personally and professionally.